Okay, guys. Again, a very good afternoon to all of you. Sharing my screen with you. We were there into Modigliani and Miller model last time around, and we had proven the hypothesis of Modigliani and Miller model by taking some practical questions. And we had proved that if we follow the instructions of Modigliani and Miller, then the valuation of the company do not get changed whether you give the dividend or you do not give the dividend in the long period of time. Now, last time we had taken one question. Let me take you to that question again. So, at the end, we had proven that, sir, the market capitalization in both of these alternatives, whether we pay the dividend or we do not pay the dividend, was remaining same. But here comes some assumptions. The primary assumption we have taken over here is, my friend, that we were requiring 10 lakhs rupees in total for total investments, right? We had used the retained earning first. So that was the first assumption, that we are going to use this retained earning to finance my investment requirement. And number two, whatever the remaining money was required to be financed was financed by issuing the new equity shares. So these two assumptions are driving this model to the deficiency. I hope you are able to understand this. In the last question, you couldn't realize, but that was an assumption. How did I assume that the retained earnings of 4 lakhs rupees will be utilized first to finance my investment requirement of 10 lakhs rupees? In spite of the fact that I have the good retained earnings, I may opt another source of finance based on the requirement of the project. Number two, the remaining money, which I couldn't arrange from anywhere, was financed through issue of the new equity shares, which is again an assumption. If the current equity shareholders do not want to dilute their holding, they do not want to issue the new equity shares, and they say no in the resolution, in the annual general meeting, that we do not want to issue any equity shares, then what will happen? You will have to borrow from some other sources. So these assumptions are the deficiencies, or I may say the criticisms of Modigliani-Miller model. Now these two assumptions are not the exclusive deficiencies, exclusive criticisms. There are a few others too. Let's see that. Let me share this current slide. Yes. So the first one is, it assumes that the market is perfect capital markets. Everyone is aware about which stock is undervalued, which stock is overvalued. Modigliani-Miller model says that investors wants just a specific rate of return. Whether that specific rate of return gets satisfied with the amount of dividend, or it gets satisfied with the incremental market price, they are indifferent. I mean, they are least bothered about on which way they get the required rate of return. In whatever the way, it really does not make a difference to them. Now that can happen only if the investors have got the knowledge about the stocks, perfect capital markets. Information is freely available to everyone, freely accessible to everyone without any discrimination, which is a fundamentally wrong assumption. All the financial institutions which are operating at the high, big magnitude and scale will have the primary information faster than the individual shareholders like you and me. Now, law and regulation is trying very hard not to create any such kind of asymmetry in the information, but still you cannot eliminate the asymmetry at all. The information distribution is asymmetric. That means it is not available to everyone in a standard manner. Some people get the information earlier than others. Some people have got more detailed information than others, which is not the sign of perfect capital markets. So everyone will not be aware about it. So that's why we may not get, just a second. Okay, so everyone is not aware about this information, so we will not be able to get the market price as per Modigliani and Miller model. Number one. Number two, no Tech 6 or that means 12 rupees on 100 rupees of share. Is my voice audible to you now? And my screen is also visible, right? Confirmation, please. Thank you so much. So if say shareholders have got 12% expectation on 100 rupee share, they are least bothered that whether they get in terms of dividend or they get in terms of increment in market price. Ultimately, they want 12 rupees to be satisfied. Now here in this case, if there is a tax discrimination between these two incomes, then there is a problem. As per the Income Tax Act 1961, up to the last year, the dividend was not taxable in the hands of the shareholders up to 10 lakhs rupees in total. But from this year onwards, dividend are taxable in the hands of shareholders. Now the government policy has changed. Earlier, if I tell you before 3 to 4 years, the capital gain on the incremental market price, as per the Income Tax Act 1961, if there is an increment in the market price, my friend, and if you sell it after some number of days or years, then it is a capital gain for you because equity shares are considered to be the capital asset for investors. Now, the long-term capital gain was exempt, but now it is taxable. So whatever you were gaining on a long-term basis from the equity share that was exempt earlier 2 to 3 years back, then again there was a modification in the finance tech budget and that exemption was removed. That means now again the incremental market price you get on equity shares, and now if you sell it, you are supposed to pay short-term capital gain or long-term capital gain on that. Short-term capital gain was anyway taxable in all the situations. Only long-term capital gain was not taxable earlier to boost the participation of individual retail investors. But now that exemption is removed. Again, let me tell you that if my dividend income is taxable at 12 percentage and my increment in market price is taxable at 18 percentage, then which one I will prefer? Because I will pay lesser tax amount, right? So I would prefer to get more dividend income rather than increment in market price. If the increment in market price is exempted as per the Income Tax Act 1961, then I would prefer to get the increment in market price rather than getting the dividend. So investors' preference will change if there will be a discrimination between these two incomes as far as the taxation is concerned. And that is where the problem is, my friends. So if there will be a tax discrimination between these two income, then Modigliani-Miller model will not stand true. Fixed investment policy, that is the assumption we had discussed right in the initial part of the session. That, sir, we assumed that The remaining money we require from for the investment will be financed through equity shares. So all the new investments are financed through equity shares. That is the fundamental assumption, which is a wrong assumption. No flotation or transaction cost. Now, my friends, if someone prefers to get incremental market price, then whenever they will be selling that particular stock in a market, they will have to pay some transaction cost, right? It may be brokerage, securities transaction tax, or some other sort of commission levied by various intermediaries. Now, when I receive the dividend, it's basically the cash directly I have received in my bank account. But when I get the incremental market price, if I want to realize that in cash, I will have to sell the shares to someone else, right? And if I'll be selling it to someone, then there will be a transaction cost. And if there will be a too much of transaction cost, સોના કરતા અગર ઘડામણ મોંઘું થઈ જાય બેટા, તો પછી કોઈ વેચવાનું પસંદ કરે નહીં. So investor will not prefer to sell the share. Instead, he would prefer to get directly the dividend in terms of cash in their bank account. Because to realize the cash from the equity shares, you will have to sell it. And to sell it, you will have to pay the transaction cost. And if those transaction costs will be significant enough to influence the decisions of the investor, then investors will definitely think about dividend received rather than incremental market price. Risk of uncertainty does not exist. That means investors who say that if the money is kept by company in terms of retained earnings, they are least bothered about it. Now, how does that happen? Only if you are quite sure that because of this your market price will go up. How can you be so quite sure about it? Investors are saying, as per this model, no, that see, 12% requirement, whether you keep it or I receive it in terms of dividend, that really does not matter. I just want 12%. Now, there will be an increment in the market price due to a higher retained earnings and surplus is understood. But how can an investor be so sure about this? That means investor do not have any risk of uncertainty. He is able to predict the future कि भैया market price अब जाएगी मतलब जाएगी. ऐसे कैसे predict कर सकते हो? That's the wrong assumption. Criticism of the Modigliani-Miller model. Now, in the idealistic situation where this imperfection do not exist, Modigliani-Miller approach is a very, very rational approach. I mean, pretty much revered by the various other people who are belonging to a finance fraternity. But the thing is that it assumes a lot of things. It assumes that it must be a perfect capital markets. Wrong assumption. It assumes that there won't be any discrimination between the dividend income and capital appreciation. Wrong. Country to country, this kind of the taxation policy will get different. Fixed investment policy. I may finance my new requirement through the equity shares, through the preference shares, through the loans and borrowings, or through any other sort or means. You cannot make it mandatory for me to make the investments only out of equity money. No flotation and transaction cost. How does it happen? Now, in the perfect capital market, the transaction costs are always eliminated. Slowly and gradually, if you see some developed capital markets in Europe and United States, the brokerage amounts and the securities transaction taxes are very, very less. But earlier in India, when the trading was started, the brokerage was too high. Because of that, the brokers could earn a lot of money. But nowadays, the brokerages are removed from the transactions. I mean, the portion of the brokerage is going slowly and steadily very, very down. Some plans of angel broking and Zerodha is anyway not charging anything on any kind of transactions you do in the equity. Angel broking is charging in the full-time service broker somewhere around 20 rupees per order, which is a negligible amount of brokerage. If you purchase a 2 to 3 lakhs rupees of shares and you are supposed to pay only 20 rupees of brokerage, then you can say that it's a negligible amount of brokerage. So in the perfect capital market, the transaction costs are always eliminated. Slowly and steadily, once the markets are matured, the transaction costs are removed, but that takes a lot of time. Still, there are many transaction costs. So these are the assumptions of Modigliani-Miller model. In other words, the criticisms of Modigliani-Miller model. May I have the confirmation from all the students, please? Is it clear till now? Very good. Thank you so much. Nice to see that Mr. Jaydev is aware about the removal of that, and that was removed by Arun Jaitley. Very nice. Mr. Jaydev, I must appreciate your knowledge of current affairs, specifically for economic affairs. Okay. Now I am keeping one image in front of you. Try to see that image. This is going to be the base for learning or so many other things in the finance as well. These two slokas and verses in the Srimad Bhagavad Gita are my favorite slokas. Such a beautiful logical flow of various occurrences of the incidents is given, and the output is so much justified and well defined that it is applicable to so many other things in the world. Well, let me tell you this. These are slok number 62 and 63 of Adhyaya 2, verse 62-63 of chapter 2 of Srimad Bhagavad Gita. Dhyayato Vishayan Punsa Shangaste Shubhajayate Shangats Jayate Kama Kamat Krodho Vijayate Krodhat Bhavati Sammoha Sammohat Smriti Vibramaha Smriti Vanshat Buddhinasho Buddhinashat Pranashyati. Pondering over the objects, one gets attached to them. One gets attached to them. Just a second. Attachment breeds desire. From desire, the anger is born. Anger leads to delusion. From delusion, memory gets clouded. Memory gets vanished. From clouding of memory, the intellect gets destroyed, and when the intellect is gone, there is a demise of that person, intellectually, mentally. Now, pondering over the objects or expectations or any sort of a material gain is the primary reason behind the fall of any person, behind the demise of any person intellectually, mentally. One person loses his or her everything starting from the pressure of expectations. My friends, one should increase the expectations of others only if they are sustainable, only if they can be satisfied, otherwise not. From this shloka, there is one more conclusion derived, is that if you earn 100 rupee, the happiness you get from that 100 rupees of profit is lesser than the 100 rupees of loss you make on a negative event. That's why trading is a very, very dangerous and, pressure cooker kind of the profession. 100 rupees of profits will not increase your happiness in a same quantum, like there will be a sadness in case of 100 rupees of losses. If you earn 1 lakh rupee, imagine what kind of the reaction you will give. And if you lose 1 lakh rupees, imagine what will be your reaction. We are more vulnerable to the negative events. That's why expectations of the people should be increased or should be raised only if you know that those expectations will be satisfied from our side, otherwise not. Think around 1,000 times before raising the expectations of anyone. That is what was the psychological base behind the next model, which was Linter's model. My friends, as per the Linter's model, you have a target dividend payout ratio, say 50%. Now, dividend payout ratio is basically the percentage of earning you distribute to the shareholders. Now, say the EPS has increased to 20 rupees from 10 rupees. When the EPS was 10 rupees, your dividend per share was 5 rupees. Now it should be 10 rupees because you want to maintain your dividend payout ratio of 50%. It is the expectation of shareholder. My friends, Linter's model comes into this argument, comes into the picture after analyzing the 1,000 numbers of manufacturing and big, large publicly traded companies in the United States of America. Professor Linter is someone's expectations from 5 to 10 only if that increased earning is sustainable in nature. The 5 rupee, which is the incremental EPS, whether that earning is sustainable in nature or not. Just in a year, due to a cyclic flow or due to some extraordinary reasons, if your income was exceptionally good, then you will not increase your dividend per share amount straight away. Just because your earning has increased, you will see that whether that earning is sustainable in the future or not, whether that earning is generated due to the permanent reasons or just due to temporary changes. Some companies have shown the tremendous amount of profits at the time of COVID-19 pandemic, who were there into the business of sanitizers and masks. But whether that business is sustainable after 5 years, once the entire population of this world will be vaccinated, well, there is a question mark on that. So the temporary businesses which are started, or the temporary financial benefits which the company gets because of any sort of a reason which is not permanent in nature, which is quite temporary in nature, applicable only to the consequences, only to the circumstances of that time, in that case, you should not increase your earning. In other words, I can say the increment in dividend should be only that much which is sustainable in the future, because that was observed by Mr. Linter throughout the dividend policies of the companies, and he studied the impact on the market price of the dividend. So he suggested to the finance managers that, see, you want to maintain your dividend payout ratio, pretty much good, understood, well accepted, but when you will be increasing the expectations of the equity shareholder, if the dividend will get increased from 5 to 7, imagine what kind of happiness they will have. And Once in a next, after that 1 year, if you'll not be able to satisfy their expectation, it reaches to say 3 rupees from 7 rupees, then what kind of sadness they will have? What kind of negative impact it will cause you? Increment of the dividend of 2 rupees will be increasing your market price, or it will be affecting positively your market price possibly, but you may also see that how negatively it will have the impact when it will be significantly reduced. So अगर कोई चेंज करते हो तो 100 बार सोचो वो चेंज सस्टेनेबल है कि नहीं है, because there is a clear cut expectations which the people sets on you. They will forget that normal was 5 rupees dividend. They will only see that last year's dividend was 7 rupee. We couldn't get that 7 rupee of dividend. As simple as that. There is a fall of around 50-60% in the dividend in a year, and that fall will not be taken positively, I tell you, my friends. Hence, dividend should be increased only if it is sustainable in nature, otherwise not. Then how do we decide that whether the dividend, whether the earnings we have got, additional earnings we have got in a year are sustainable or not? How do we decide? Well, it's entirely an arbitrary process. People decides their adjustment factors based on whatever the best knowledge they have. There is no clear-cut scientific guidelines given by Mr. Walter to say that whether what portion, how to calculate a portion of incremental earnings which is sustainable and that is not sustainable. How to find that ratio? That is well not defined. I hope the conceptual framework of the Linters model is understood by you. May I have a confirmation, please? यहाँ तक सब कुछ clear है बेटा? Very good. Received from Mr. Jaydev, Miss Hemali, Titli as well, Mr. Deepesh, Miss Shreya too. Thank you. Okay, so how does this model looks like? Let's see that. Sir, I will first see that what increment shareholder should get as per the new dividend payout ratio. Say the EPS is 10 and now the EPS is 20. And the dividend payout ratio is how much? 50%. So earlier, say dividend was received by the shareholder, it was 5. So according to that dividend payout ratio, now they should get 10 rupee. So the difference between the dividend is how much? 5 rupee. Or I can say that is the increment in dividend amount. Now this entire increment in dividend amount is not due to sustainable reasons. In some number of years, you may have done exceptionally good, understood, but that earning may not be sustainable in the upcoming years. So you decide some percentage, 40, 50, by looking at your data, by studying your financial statements. And by studying your financial statements, first of all, what you will do that, what is the increment in profits we have generated? Then you will see that whether that incremental profits was due to a normal operating day-to-day business cycle, or it was due to some exceptional and extraordinary reasons which were beyond the business of company. So accordingly, you can decide that, sir, 50% of the incremental profits are sustainable due to incremental sales amount we have got that can further be extended in the next year. But the rest 50% of the profits that we have got as an incremental profit are not sustainable in the future, because such kind of a contract we may not be able to receive in the future, or such kind of incomes we may not be able to generate in the future. So you have decided that your 50% incremental income is the sustainable income. Only the 50% of the incremental income is the sustainable income. The same thing will be applicable to your dividend per amount, per dividend per share amount. So ideally, they should get 5 rupee of incremental dividend, because earlier they were receiving 5, now they should receive 10. So increment should be 5, but this entire increment will not be given. Only the sustainable portion of the increment should be given. Then the sustainable portion is say 40 percentage, then 5 multiplied by 40 percentage comes out to be 2 rupees. Now that should be the increase in your earlier dividend of 5 rupees. So your next dividend should be 7 rupee per share. I hope you are getting my point. Very widely followed practice. While evaluating the shares and the dividend policies, people also follow that how much income of a company may be attributed to the sustainable income. Now, one girl was asking it to me, I guess in BBA honors, I must tell her name, Himja Makad. She's very nice girl, amazing. And I was very surprised to know her curiosity about those things. She was doing one project, and at that point of time, there was one aspect of increment in EPS due to capital gain or due to extraordinary situations. So at that time, I had taken a class of her only for her for around 15 to 20 minutes, just for her curiosity, and she could understand that. So sometimes this companies also give you that how much percentage of the incremental EPS is sustainable in the future by doing some calculations. I hope you're getting my point, and accordingly we may solve the questions. Let's see the question. So now see, if you want to write it in a formula format, no, then it will be like last year's dividend plus EPS multiplied by dividend payout ratio. Matlab current year's EPS multiplied by dividend payout ratio, which is basically new dividend. That should be your new dividend, right? Should be, not actual, as per the dividend payout ratio, minus the last year's dividend. So that is basically the increment you have, yes or no? So if you minus last year's dividend from what they should get as a dividend, that is basically the increment, but not entire increment will be given. Only the sustainable increment will be given, say that is 40%. So that is the adjustment factor. Now if someone tells you that D minus 1 multiplied by EPS target payout minus D minus 1 multiplied by adjustment factor, if you look at this formula, you will get like, अरे भैया कहाँ फंस गए, क्यों फाइनेंस मैनेजमेंट सब्जेक्ट आता है? बट ये लॉजिकल फ्लो है, समझ में आने वाली बात है पूरी पूरी. I am giving the increment to you, but not the entire increment. Only the portion which is sustainable in nature. So this is how it may be written in a formula. Let's solve a question of it, please. So last year's dividend is 9.8. I am writing it over here, 9.8 plus speed of adjustment. Speed of adjustment is nothing but the sustainable earning, 45%. So target payout ratio is 60% and EPS of the current year is 20. So 20's 60% should be the dividend you should pay as per the dividend payout ratio, So 20 multiplied by 0.6 minus 9.8. That should be actually the increment given to you. But we will not give you the entire increment. We will give you the increment only of the sustainable portion, which is 45% adjustment factor. So multiplied by 0.45. So therefore 9.8 in bracket 20 multiplied by 6 6 दूने 12, so it would be 12 minus 9.8 to be multiplied by 0.45. Therefore, 9.8, and there is a plus in between, sorry, do not forget that. 9.8 plus 2.2 multiplied by 0.45. So therefore, 9.8 plus 2.2 multiplied by 0.45. 2 multiplied by 0.45. So that will be 0.99. That amount should be added in 9.8. So that should be the current year's dividend. So that stands out to be 10.79 rupee from this information. Now this gives you the exact amount of dividend a company should pay. You must have observed that till now whatever the models we have studied were giving you the market price impact of dividend. That means they were telling you that if you have this much of a dividend, then what will be your valuation in the market, and accordingly investors may take the decisions. But this is the only model which gives you the exact quantum and amount of dividend to be paid. That is the strength of this model. No other models we have discussed till now were giving you the exact amount of model to be amount of dividend to be paid. Is it clear? Is everyone there with me till now? Confirmation, please. All of you. चलो यहाँ तक confirmation, please. Some people will be like, कितनी बार confirmation लोगे? तो बेटा मेरे को देखना तो पड़ेगा कि आता है कि नहीं आता. फिर क्या होगा, मैं इधर चिल्लाता रहूंगा, बच्चों को मालूम नहीं पड़ रहा है. Okay. Now let's see the assumptions of this model, and only if those assumptions are followed, then this model should be followed, otherwise not. First is the long-term dividend payout ratio. There is a dividend payout ratio that you want to maintain. Now, how did Mr. Linter come to know that this dividend payout ratio every company wants to maintain? I mean, particular which they have set. Now, that may be from the historical behavior of the managers who are deciding the dividend payouts. Changing the dividend payout ratio may be detrimental to be very strong justification if you change the dividend payout ratio from the earlier one. So from 0.60, if you change 0.40, then it will require strong justifications. So dividend payout ratio is something which every company wants to maintain in the future for a very long period of time. Maintain the fixed dividend payout over a long term, okay. Managers are more concerned with changes in dividend than the absolute amount of dividend. Yes. See, here in this case, their entire focus was that how much dividend should be increased. We have done the calculation of the adjustment factor. We have done everything just to know that how much should be increased. So whatever the exact amount of dividend is, no, that they are least bothered about it. Exactly अगर 150 के ऊपर हो तो भी चलेगा. Exactly dividend if that comes somewhere around 20 rupees, then also it's okay. This model is silent about the exact quantum of dividend. It is focusing on the incremental dividend, because here is where you are playing with the expectations of the people. Whatever that was a standard up to the last year, that will be well accepted by the investors. Understood? There is absolutely no problem in that. They expect some incremental, but that incremental should be paid only if it is sustainable in nature, otherwise not. So here is where the entire calculation happens. So focus is on the incremental changes in dividend rather than the absolute amount of dividend. Earlier in the other models, if you could see, the focus was on the actual amount of dividend. If you change the amount of dividend, no absolute amount of dividend, then the answers were getting changed. In the Gordon's model too, in the model too. But Linter model is focusing more on the changes of dividend rather than the amount of dividend. Dividend changes follow changes in the long run sustainable earnings. Yes. Managers are reluctant to affect the dividend changes that may have to be reversed. Very true. The dividend changes which may be reversed in the future, it should be avoided today itself, because reversal will cause a lot of trauma. If you will give them the increment right now, in the next year, if you are unable to satisfy their expectations, then the consequences would be very, very adverse. In fact, the benefits you receive because of the incremental benefit will be wiped away due to dissatisfaction on account of less payment of dividend. I hope you are getting my point. That's what the basic argument, psychological base argument was. That you are more dissatisfied in 100 rupees of loss than 100 rupees of profit you make. That sadness is more than the happiness of 100 rupees of profit. That's the human psychology. Okay, so these are the various assumptions, and from assumptions only the criticisms are born. It does not offer a market price for the share. It fails to tell you that what will be the impact on market price. In fact, market price is not taken anywhere in the calculation. We are least bothered about what will be a market price. It just tells you that how much amount of dividend you should pay by considering the incremental or decremental amount of dividend. The adjustment factor is arbitrary number and not based on any scientific criteria or method. Now see, everyone will frame their own scientific criteria to calculate their this adjustment factor. I can say that sustainable portion of the income, but country to country, company to company, industry to industry, the criterias will differ, you know. So there is no clear cut guidelines that how you should find that percentage of income which is sustainable in nature. There is absolutely no clear cut guidelines for that. So again, that is a criticism. Well, so that's all about the Linter's model. It was more about understanding it conceptually because you know, numerically it does not involve many things. Chalo, yahan tak. Now this is the end of the fourth module. We should move to a fifth module, which will be working capital management. It's already, I guess, 15:16. Okay, so 3:15 baj gaye. We have the lecture till 4:30. So should I give you a break or I should continue and leave you early? Just give me a suggestion. I mean, I'm taking your suggestions. Should I leave you early or I should give you a break of 5 minutes right now? Okay, Miss Titli, continue. Miss Himali is also saying continue. Okay, Miss Vaishali is also there. Very nice. She is also telling me to continue. Okay, fine. Let's continue. Just give me 30 seconds, please. Okay, let's move ahead. Sharing my screen again. Guys, there was one research article published in the Journal of IIM, Ahmedabad, that this around 70 percentage of the business startups and professions are getting shut only after a year and within 2 years. So after 2 years, only 30 percentage of the startups are able to survive. Now, what could be reasons behind it? You have got an amazing idea and you are establishing a startup only after you have gathered the sources of funds, right? You have gathered the sources of funds, you have started managing your business, the entity is established, and there is no motivation and inspiration issues during the initial 1 2 years as well. So after say 5 to 10 years, if it is getting closed, we may say that the workforce or the workforce or the top level management and the promoters of the company may not be very much inspired, visionary, or vibrant. But in the initial phase, everyone puts a lot of efforts as well. Still, many startups get shut. What could be reasons behind it? Can someone tell me? You can communicate that to me through the chat box by unmuting yourself. That's a fact. Around 70 percentage get shut just within 1 to 2 years. Miss Tisli is very smart. He has directly linked it with the working capital. Because she knows no कि सर ने क्यों चालू किया है वर्किंग कैपिटल. टॉपिक डिस्कस हो रहा है, उससे पहले बात निकाली तो वर्किंग कैपिटल के साथ.
नहीं सर, इससे पहले भी आपने एक बार कहा था कि वर्किंग कैपिटल की वजह से शटडाउन होता है स्टार्टअप्स.
Very true. Very true. Okay, I didn't know that. I have already stated this earlier. Very true. Now, lack of effective working capital management policy. See, when you establish a startup at that time, various things you are supposed to do in that, right? Say one thing is about gathering the sources of finance, which is a one-time activity. You may take help of various financial experts. Once you gather the funds, then you won't have to gather it again and again, because now you have got the enough money and your business is also running. You can satisfy your temporary business requirements just from your business only. So gathering the source of funds is not something which is repetitive in nature. Happens in a very long period of time. Then the investment decisions as well. I mean, investing into land, building, machinery, your idea, and what sorts of, the kind of employee personnel you want to keep, employee management systems you want to build. ये भी आप सुबह उठ के चेंज नहीं करते हो. ये ऐसे ही मुंह धो के चलो यार आज काम करते, 100 एम्प्लॉय को निकाल देते, 100 को हायर कर देते, ऐसा होता है. चलो ये सिस्टम बदल देते, ये चलो ये बिल्डिंग से एक सुबह सुबह मारवाड़ी साहब को याद आया यार गौरीगढ़ अच्छा नहीं है, एक काम करते कालावर रोड पे मारवाड़ी यूनिवर्सिटी ले लेते हैं. करते हो ऐसा? That is also not very frequent activity. Investment decisions you take on a long term basis. But working capital में आपको कोई रेस्क्यू करने वाला है नहीं. No one will come to your rescue in working capital. Only you will have to manage it. There will be no financial experts who will be guiding you in your day-to-day operations. Now here, when the uncertainties arises, or if you are unable to do the amount of sales as you had expected before establishing a startup, then you have some fixed cost to incur. Those fixed costs may be from rent, those fixed costs may be from employee benefit expenses, salaries and everything, administrative office staff expense. And if you will be unable to rotate the cash in that situation, then you are going for the bankruptcy for sure. rotating the cash is the most important aspect of any business. 2-3 दिन भी अगर दुकान बंद रहती है ना तो तकलीफ हो जाती है. Ask it to people who are belonging to business family, those who have already got some setup and businesses in their family. They know that how difficult it is to rotate the cash. Various decisions you take in this. Decisions may be varying from how much amount of cash should be kept so that your normal operating day-to-day business cycle will not get affected. Number 2, up to what extent it should be kept. Say you are incrementally, you are increasing it, but after a certain extent, it's a burden on you, right? If you're keeping too much of cash idle, it is against the basics of financial management. Nothing should be kept idle if it has got the earning power. It must be employed somewhere from which it is fetching the income. Then what should be a limit? Where we should stop? Let's take the creditor. Now, when it comes to working capital, it is basically management of current assets and current liabilities. Current assets may be cash, inventory, it can be bills receivables, it can be, any other sorts of things which forms a part of the assets which are realizable only in the operating cycle period, lesser than 1 year. And it has started raining very heavily here. I need to close the window. ये मौसम की बारिश की बूंदे. Anyway, let me shut it down. आपके वहां पे बारिश हो रही है कि नहीं हो रही है? इधर तो मस्त है यार, एमयू में तो मजे है. पता नहीं कैसे जाएंगे घर वापस. हो रही है बारिश वहां पे घर पे? अच्छा, उधर भी हो रही है. अरे वाह, वेरी नाइस. ओके, देन इट कम्स द करंट लायबिलिटीज विच इज क्रेडिटर्स. सर इतनी मस्त बारिश हो रही है, बाहर जाके घूमने का मन होता है, भजिया पकौड़े खाने का मन होता है, और आप यहाँ पे एफएम पढ़ा रहे हो. अब इंडिया इज द ओनली ब्रीड ऑफ Indians are the only breed of, in this entire international community whose productivity gets adversely affected when they get a good climate. बाकी सारी जगहों पे अगर अच्छा क्लाइमेट मिलता है तो आपकी प्रोडक्टिविटी इंक्रीज होती है, यहाँ पे कम होती है. चलो बाहर घूमने जाते हैं, चलो भजिया खाते, चलो पकौड़े खाते, आप पढ़ा रहे हो, नहीं करना है. एनीवे लेकिन मजे भी करने चाहिए. आई एम नॉट सेइंग नो फॉर दैट. Creditors are there, bills, payables are there. Now say cash we have discussed. It may be somewhere related to debtors as well. Now whether to give the credit or not, how much amount of rupees of credit should be given to a debtor, keeping into mind the competition and the financial implications of it on your sales. What percentage of credit should be given? What credit period should be given? Say 5 days, 10 days, 15 days, 20 days to maximize your working capital position. So various decisions you take, and here is where you falter. If you are able to find some way to generate the cash even during the bad times of your business, then you will be able to survive. Because see, bad times are not going to last longer. They will only be there for 1 or 2 years, say. But if you will be unable to rotate the cash in that period, then you will have to liquidate your business. Because anyway, you cannot say no for the payments, right? Got from the various sources. But those working capital finances you seek from the various sources, comes up with the burden of higher expense. They are very, 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 very expensive as compared to the long-term borrowings you take. So this everything needs to be taken into account, and then the decisions are to be made that whether to keep the debtors or not, up to what extent to keep, how How many number of days to be given is the credit period to debtors? How much cash should be kept? Up to what extent it should be kept? What is the minimum limit? What is the maximum limit? How it should be invested? Where it should be invested? The additional cash needs to be invested somewhere. Where? Inventory. How much inventory should be kept? Because there are benefits of holding it as well, and there are disadvantages of holding it as well. Say if your too much of money will be blocked in the inventory, then you are losing the opportunity to earn something from it. And many of the decisions in the financial management happens by taking into account the opportunity cost. What is this opportunity cost? The opportunity which you have lost. If you are keeping too much of inventory block, you know that this inventory is not going to be realized in cash very soon. If too much of money will be blocked in that inventory, it is not employed anywhere. If this would have been employed somewhere, you would have fetched some percentage of return from the investments. That opportunity you are losing. So there is a disadvantage of holding. And there is an advantage of holding too. Say if you are able to sense or smell some demand price mismatch, or you see that temporarily the demand may be very, very high due to a less production in some number of periods or days. So at that time, if you have the good amount of inventory, then you may take the advantage of incremental market prices at that time. I hope you are able to get this point. So holding it, disadvantage. Not holding it, again a disadvantage. Then how to take the decision? Sir, what is the optimum level of inventory that should be kept? So these all decisions are related to working capital management. Now, working capital is basically the total of current assets. But if the net working capital terminology is used, then it means current assets total minus current liabilities. So a bit of an accounting touch will also come into this. So if the gross word is used or nothing is used, you may take the total of current assets, and if the net working capital is explicitly used, then current assets minus current liabilities shall be taken as your working capital. There are various ratios built on the current assets and current liabilities to be seen over there. उसके हिसाब से भी हम decisions लेंगे. So these things will be discussed in the detail in the next session. I shouldn't stretch it beyond a limit, because again that involves a bit of a theoretical aspect. Yes, I know that I have got one more session to be complete today, but problem is again that involves a bit of a theoretical understanding, and if I'll be stretching it today, it may be detrimental to your health. अभी यहाँ पे जाएगा नहीं, फिर vomiting कर दोगे. Fine, I am shutting it down for a day. हमें कितने और 3 लेक्चर चाहिए. 2 तो हमारे पास शेड्यूल में ही आते हैं, तो एक आधा लेक्चर कहीं पे हमें मैनेज करना पड़ेगा, जिसमें हम एस्टिमेशन ऑफ वर्किंग कैपिटल देखेंगे, वर्किंग कैपिटल रेशियोज देखेंगे, एंड दैट विल बी डन एंटायरली ऑन द प्रैक्टिकल डेटा सेट्स ऑफ द कंपनीज. So this 3 to 4 sessions we are going to conduct will be on the Excel itself. तो Excel के ऊपर ही काम करेंगे अपन, ठीक है? So please bring the laptop in the next session. That's it from my side for the day. I do not want to stretch further because you people have already learned so many things. We have seen the assumptions of Modigliani-Miller model. Linter's model is conceptually discussed. We have solved some of it. We know the meaning of basics of working capital and their importance. Now if I'll be stretching further to working capital theoretically, then it will be too heavy for you right now. Rather than vomiting it out, it's better to shift it on another day. Fine, please put your enrollment number as a mark of your attendance. That's it from my side. If you have any questions or queries or anything which you couldn't understand, please let me know. Okay. Take care. Sayonara. Bye bye. See you all in the next session with utmost of energy and enthusiasm. Energy, enthusiasm बिल्कुल भी कम नहीं होना चाहिए. Even if we are at the last leg of these sessions. जहां तक एकदम एंड तक अपने को इतना ऐसे ही रहना है. ठीक है. बाय बाय. टेक केयर.